Secret Memoir of a Guru, a Spiritual Diary from Prison by Samael on Weor. Chapter February 25th, 1952. Today, I have been profoundly meditating on the esoteric sense contained in chapter 11 of Revelation. And there was given me a reed like unto a rod, and the angel stood, saying, Rise, and measure the temple of God, and the altar, and them that worship therein. Revelation 11 verse 1. How wise this verse is when I think that this temple of God, or better if I say of my God, is being built by one within their own internal worlds, as the fire of the Kundalini rises through the center of a reed like unto a rod, the spinal column. Indeed, the temple of the innermost must be measured with a reed. It is wonderful to see in the internal worlds how one goes raising one's temple as the sacred fire goes up canyon by canyon, along that reed of our spinal column. The dome of the temple is finished when the fire reaches the pineal gland, the diamond eye, or center of polyvision, where the splendorous lotus of 1,000 petals resides, which shines like the aureole above the heads of all the Christified ones. Revelation 11 verse 3 states, And I will give power unto my 2 witnesses, which also seems very interesting to me. These 2 witnesses are the nerve cords called by the Hindus Ida and Pingla. These 2 cords are related to the ganglia, and through them the solar and lunar atoms of our seminal system ascend. These are the 2 olive trees, and the 2 candlesticks standing before the God of the earth. And if any man will hurt them, fire proceedeth out of their mouth, and devoureth their enemies, and if any man will hurt them, he must in this manner be killed. These have power to shut heaven, that it rain not in the days of their prophecy, and have power over waters to turn them to blood, and to smite the earth with all plagues, as often as they will. Revelation 11 verses 4 to 6. When we comprehend that the sacred fire is awakened by the contact of the solar and lunar atoms of our 2 witnesses, the 2 ganglionic cords, and that the flaming sword is our own Kundalini, then we understand the meaning of these verses. Actually, the sword has power against the atoms of the secret enemy and against the powers of evil. When the prophet receives the sword of justice from him, he acquires power over all nature. The lords of justice have the power to punish the world. In Eden, all human beings had the Kundalini awake, and nature obeyed them, but when humans gave themselves up to lust, the 2 witnesses went through a mystical death and humans lost their swords, and were thrown out of Eden. Verses 7, 8, 9, 10 of the same chapter 11 are dedicated to the singing of that knowledge. And when they shall have finished their testimony, the beast that ascendeth out of the bottomless pit shall make war against them, and shall overcome them, and kill them. And their dead bodies shall lie in the street of the great city, which spiritually is called Sodom and Egypt, where also our Lord was crucified. Revelation 11 verses 7 and 8. Sodom is fornication, by which our Christ, the astral light, is crucified, and the great city is Babylon the Great, this corrupt civilization in which we live. However, our 2 witnesses will be resurrected, and the human being will be transformed into an angel, and will again acquire his ancient powers. And after 3 days and in half the spirit of life from God entered into them, and they stood upon their feet, and great fear fell upon them which saw them. Revelation 11 verse 11. The 3.5 days correspond to the 3rd degree of the power of fire, and to the 3rd initiation of major mysteries. Upon reaching the 3rd great initiation, the astral or mediator Christos acquires all the lost powers lost. He rises on the 3rd day from the dead. And the temple of God was opened in heaven, and there was seen in his temple the ark of his testament, and there were lightnings, and voices, and thunderings, and an earthquake, and great hail. Revelation 11 verse 19. These have been my meditations today, and I think like this, how foolish people are. If they knew what they lose when they go to fornicate, instead of laughing, they would cry. Chapter February 26, 1952. Here in Cienega, the day has been very warm, the people seem crazy, devoted to carnival. This carnival season is diabolical. People give free rein to their most brutal appetites. I was at a friend's house and I recommended some form of admonition to help a traitorous disciple, who was expelled from the White Lodge, and now he is in the Avicii. The wretched Judas lost everything because of anger, and entered the Avicii. anger, lust, and greed are the three doors through which one enters the abyss. Krishna, Bhagavad Gita 16:21. Avicii is a state of consciousness that can be entered in life. My friend entered that pitiful state of consciousness, and although he is still incarnate, his lower ego is already an inhabitant of the Avicii. This case is very painful. His innermost or higher being has already disincarnated, and the only thing that remains animating his physical vehicle is a lower I. The divine being of everyone who enters the abyss disincarnates. How sad this is. These days, I am locking millions of demonic souls in the abyss. Actually, the mission that I, Samael on Weor, have, that concerns me, is terrible. My conference with my disciple John has been long. I explained to him that all the wisdom of John the Baptist is enclosed within the human ethereal body. I also explained to him about the decapitation of John the Baptist. This symbolic decapitation belongs to the first canyon or cervical vertebra of the head, located at the nape of the neck. When the second degree of fire power, or Kundalini of the ethereal body, because each of the 7 bodies has its Kundalini, upon reaching there, then the initiate undergoes the symbolic beheading of John the Baptist. He exchanges his earthly mind for an ethereal and heavenly mind, leaves his filthy head to Salome, humanity, so that she can dance with it before King Herod's, the world, and the initiate assumes a new mind, a heavenly and divine mind. How great this is! Too bad humanity doesn't understand these things. The midday sun has been very warm. The streets are full of people in costumes. People are crazy with pleasures. Wretched people! I also explained to John the esoteric meaning of why Christ said that he could destroy the temple of God, and in 3 days rebuild it. And I also explained to him why the 2 witnesses to the apocalypse were resurrected after 3.5 days, and why Christ rose from the dead after 3 days. John is a very faithful disciple, and he listens to me with sincere devotion. Our astral body is our Christos, and when the 3rd degree of power of the fire, or Kundalini of the astral body, has reached the pineal gland, then the whole astral body becomes a resplendent sun, and all the chakras shine with indescribable radiance. The astral body is then made in the image and likeness of the divine Rabbi of Galilee. It is Christified and stigmatized, acquires the ancient powers that he had in Eden and resurrects. This is the 3rd initiation of major mysteries, and for this reason Christ and the 2 witnesses of the apocalypse rose again on the 3rd day from the dead. And as for the temple, this is very interesting. Certainly the initiate builds in the astral world a temple for her innermost to officiate. And that temple is finished on the 3rd day, that is to say, when the initiate receives the 3rd initiation of major mysteries. We destroyed that temple in the past, and now we have to build it again, with the 3rd degree of the power of the fire. This is the meaning of why Christ said that he could destroy the temple of God, and in 3 days build it again. When our Christos is resurrected with the 3rd initiation of major mysteries, we become omniscient and omnipotent, and all the luminous powers of the astral body enter into full activity. Chapter February 27, 1952. Really, the astral bodies of the living dead are as cold as death, as icy as corpses. The living dead are all those who have not yet merged with the innermost. We, the masters, are flames of burning fire, and our astral bodies are igneous. Today, the 27th, I have also been meditating on the igneous wings. I believed that the wings of angels was a purely pictorial matter, but my concept changed before the real events of the astral world. Certainly, when the sacred fire of the astral body has reached the vertebrae or canyons of the astral body related to the pulmonary chakras, the initiate receives the igneous wings, and actually receives a pair of small wings that characterize one as an angel. Then special teachings are given to the adept related to the functioning and movement of the astral body. The initiate is also taught to know the difference between humans of electric temperament and humans of magnetic temperament, etc. The power of the fiery wings is very interesting. The astral body of a Christified one is beautiful. The wound on the side is deep, really deep, and the stigmata on the feet, hands, flagellation sites, and crown of thorns give the astral body that divine beauty of the martyr of Golgotha. The Kundalini's fire has to go up through 33 canyons related to 33 sacred chambers of the astral world. In each chamber there is a feast. These are the festivals of the temples and the festivals of the gods. The sacred fire rises when practicing sexual magic and living a holy life. Through supreme efforts of sexual magic, we triumphantly cross each of the 33 chambers of the Grand Masonic Lodge in the astral world. I have been discussing Michael's work with my priestess wife. Indeed, behind this gigantic mission that has been entrusted onto me, which is to bring millions of perverse souls into the Avicii, is Michael, the great prince of the children of the light and the great planetary Logoi. Michael directs, and I on Weor execute the orders that I receive directly from my father Samael. Certainly, there are two kinds of masters, those who lead and those who dominate. In the past, Michael personally fought against the demons. Now, like a great architect, he directs the work that I, Samael Weor, am doing. Over time, Michael rose from dominator to leader. Daniel, the prophet of God, prophesied this in the following biblical verses. And at that time shall Michael stand up, the great prince which standeth for the children of thy people, and there shall be a time of trouble, such as never was since there was a nation even to that same time. And at that time thy people shall be delivered, every one that shall be found written in the book. Daniel 12 verse 1. That liberated people are the people of the light, good humanity, which is written in the book of life. Then, when Daniel speaks about the selection of souls for heaven and the Avicii, he says the following. And many of them that sleep in the dust of the earth shall awake, some to everlasting life, and some to shame and everlasting contempt. Daniel 12 verse 2. All of Daniel chapter 12 refers to this very thing. Millions of souls are currently entering the abyss. This is frightening, this is terrible. Really, human evolution failed, and only a handful of select souls will be able to merge with their innermost, in order to enter the angelic kingdom. These prophecies of Daniel are being fulfilled in these moments in a terrible way, and millions of incarnated and disembodied human beings are entering into the abyss. I have been discussing all of this with my priestess wife during and after dinner. The sea breeze strongly shakes some coconut palms, and the sea roars loudly on this Atlantic coast where we live happily. Chapter February 28, 1952. A new morning full of fog on the beaches of this immense and long sea. My wife prepares breakfast, and my son Osiris fights with his little sister Isis, who is 5 years old, over some wild fruits. How beautiful children are! I have been discussing with my priestess wife something about the temple of the masters of the ray of power. Truly, the unprepared disciple would feel unspeakable terror upon entering the temple of the ray of power. All the masters of the ray of power attend this temple in the astral body. The terror of power and the empire of love reign there. How terrifying is that temple! The forces that are at work there are terrifying. All the masters of that temple are true veterans in the battle of life. On their faces you can see the painful traces of the terrible struggle for daily bread. In all of them the painful traces of the terrible battle for daily subsistence are clearly visible. All of them have become masters fighting the great battle for existence. What a harsh reality this is! Here in this temple of force I do not see any believers. Where are the theosophists? Where are those sublime theorizers of Rosicrucianism? What did all those parrots of the spiritual schools, who talk and talk so much, become? Where are they? In this temple I only see warriors of life, veterans of the great battle, faces that reveal a lot of suffering in the physical world. Here in this temple there are no theorists. Here I do not see those bombastic spiritual people who speak so beautifully in the physical world. Here what I see are stark realities, and masters with long-suffering faces. I sat to talk with one of them who looks like a beggar. His superiors severely admonished him so that in the physical world he will groom himself and dress with more decorum, since it is not good for a master to walk with broken shoes and a dirty suit. The master must always dress decently, and live neatly dressed according to the time and the environment in which he is called to work. Everything that is done in the physical world has repercussions in the astral world, and if in the physical world we walk like a destitute, That is how we will see ourselves and others in the astral world. So we must be careful with our appearance. When Christ comes in the age of Aquarius, he will be born a man among men, and he will dress and groom himself according to the fashion of the age. Those who think that he will present himself according to the fashion of ancient Jerusalem are mistaken, and it will only be known that he is the Christ by his works, by his deeds, since the tree is known by its fruits. The coming of Christ is needed so that he can explain and clarify well the doctrine that he taught to us, and that all religious sects have totally disfigured. When Christ comes, there will no longer be any wicked ones, because all the wicked of this age will have already fallen into the abyss. Christ will come in Aquarius, and when he comes there will only be people of goodwill on earth. Another comment made with my priestess wife after breakfast, and as she was getting ready to go grocery shopping at the market, was about sexual magic. Certain wicked, tempting demons of the astral world tempted me last night with the tenebrous phallic cult that Omar Cherenzi Lind teaches in his book entitled The Kundalini, or the Fiery Serpent of Our Magical Powers. Those demons wore horns on their foreheads and spoke to me in the following terms: "Your practice of sexual magic is very wrong. You can spill semen and the Kundalini still rises." This is how answered those tempting demons: "You do it that way, but I do not. I follow my practices as I do because I am a member of the White Lodge." Those demons withdrew, defeated. They wanted to make me fall, thus they were as wrong as Javeh was when tempting Christ. The abyss is full of wrongdoers. Nature is very wise, and although it is true that she put seminiferous channels in the male to ejaculate or expel semen so that they could reproduce their species and make their apprenticeship as a human male, it is also true that nature put two energetic, spermatic channels around the spinal column so that they could make their seminal energy rise upwards towards the head, so that they could learn to do it like the angels. These two energetic, spermatic canals are the two witnesses of the apocalypse, the two olive trees, and the two candlesticks before the throne of God, the innermost. When these two witnesses are resurrected, the human then becomes an angel. We male white magicians enjoy the female, but we enjoy her wisely without harming ourselves. We introduce the virile member into the woman's vagina, and instead of expelling the semen, we make it rise as energy upwards, towards the head, withdrawing before the spasm, to avoid the spilling of that wonderful substance within our Christonic semen. The restrained desire makes our seminal energy rise through the spermatic channels to the head or sacred chalice of the initiate. This is how we awaken our Kundalini and become angels. We are tired of being reproductive donkeys, and through so many million years, we have already done our apprenticeship as humans, and now we want something better. We want to do our apprenticeship as angels. We want to be angels, and Mother Nature is so wise that she gave us our two candlesticks so that we could light them before the throne of God, our innermost. I think that we as humans have already suffered too much, and that we have the right to be angels. We want happiness. We need to be happy, and happy angels. No more pain. No more bitterness. Happiness, come. Let the demons fornicate. Let them awaken their negative kundabuffer. Let the Cherenziists fornicate, if they please. But we, the members of the White Lodge, never, never, ever fornicate, nor will we fornicate, because we follow the path of perfect holiness and chastity. March 1st, 1952. Today I have been meditating on the mystery of the Baphomet. Last night I received a certain secret degree, and the temple festivals were solemn for that reason. The curious thing about this case was that the black magicians, full of hatred, commented on my grade saying that I was stealing from them. And indeed, with sword in hand, I had to fight them to wrest from them the esoteric degrees for my spinal column. Heaven suffereth violence, Matthew 11 verse 12. It is necessary to take the light from the darkness. Wisdom is made with the sapience of sin and the vertigo of the absolute. The rose elaborates its perfume from the mud of the earth. So the mystery of Baphomet is a mystery of alchemy. The torch of the word shines between the two horns of the devil. It is necessary to light heaven by stealing the fire from the devil, because the devil is God in reverse. The mystery of Baphomet is represented by the male goat of Mendes. The torch between the two horns of Baphomet is the verb of life. It is the sacred fire that we males have to steal from the devil by learning how to enjoy our wife without spilling the semen. Editor's note: women do so by avoiding the orgasm. As the great female master Yeshet Tsogyal said to her female disciples, without energy control your sexual activity is fornication. Properly execute the exercises of drawing, the restrained energy, up the spine, and saturating brain and heart, and with the iron nails of your imagination apply an hermetic seal, to prevent any loss of energy. That torch is the fire of the Kundalini, whose degrees we have to steal from the black magicians, even if they call us thieves. This is the mystery of Baphomet. Light emerges from the darkness just as the cosmos emerges from the chaos. Baphomet is a devil with a 5-pointed star on his forehead. It has female breasts, and one arm is male and the other female. With one hand it points towards the white moon, and with the other towards the black moon. Its lower abdomen is veiled, and its sexual organs are expressed by the caduceus of Mercury. The face of the Baphomet is that of a male goat. This Baphomet symbol contains the secret of sexual magic. The 5-pointed star on the forehead of Baphomet is the eye of Brahma, the clairvoyance of clairvoyance, which is the innermost. When the soul merges with our innermost, the 5-pointed star shines upon his forehead. The union with our innermost is only achieved by learning how to enjoy our spouse without spilling the sexual energy. This is how the torch of fire is stolen from Baphomet. This is how the fire is stolen from the devil, because when we connect sexually with our spouse we are filled with the terrible fire of carnal passion, and then, by dominating our passion, we transmute the semen into energy. This is how we steal the fire from the devil and we can become angels. This is the mystery of Baphomet. This is the hidden meaning of the male goat of Mendes. The fire must be stolen from the devil, and this is why the devil lives in the fire. Chapter March 2nd, 1952. Yesterday I had thought to embark on a boat to Barranquilla, but I couldn't because my little daughter Hypatia fell ill. This worried me a bit, because I needed to give a lecture in Barranquilla for many spiritual brothers and sisters, but if I want to fulfill my duties towards humanity well, I have to start by fulfilling the duties of my home. There is a vulgar proverb that says, charity begins at home. Love is the law. Whosoever does not know how to fulfill the duties of their home will much less know how to fulfill their duties towards humanity and the cosmos. What would be said of a master who goes on a trip leaving a sick child behind? I begot my children in the past, before reaching high initiation. Today I am completely forbidden to engender children again. However, my home should serve as a good example for my fellow citizens, because a master must be an exemplary citizen. Samael on Weor is already an angel. Samael on Weor is my true being. Samael on Weor is my real being. Physically, my humble person has to be an exemplary citizen, because I am the bodhisattva of a master. So, I am a man, and my being is an angel. My angel, Samael, works in the cosmos. He is the horseman of chapter 19, 11-16 of Revelation, and I, his bodhisattva, live physically as a man among men. This is the mystery of the double personality, one of the greatest mysteries of esotericism. The bodhisattva of a master is made up of all the psychic, igneous, and ethereal extracts, which come to be something like the substratum of the inferior bodies. The bodhisattva becomes the human soul of the master. We have two souls, one divine and the other human. The divine soul is the spiritual soul or Buddhic body of the master. The human soul is the ethereal, bodhicitta, and igneous soul extract of the causal body of a human, along with the soul extracts of his inferior, astral and mental, vehicles. In synthesis, we could say that all these soul extracts of the human soul expressing themselves through the mental, astral, and ethereal bodies is what we call the bodhisattva of a master, who lives as a man among men, when he is incarnated in a physical body. Thus it is said that after having entered nirvana, the Buddha sent his bodhisattva to finish his work. And his bodhisattva finished the work wonderfully, under the direction of an inner instructor named Shankaracharya. Shankara is a ray of the primitive light, he is a flame. So, my humble person who is worth nothing is only the bodhisattva of the master of the white fraternity Samael on Weor, and logically, I must fulfill my obligations and responsibilities as any good citizen. So I have been meditating today, March 2nd, 1952, inside this humble hut where I live on the shore of the Caribbean Sea, and while I write I hear the roar of the sea throwing its tireless claws to the beach. What a tenacious sea! It does not get tired of hitting the beach. And finally its tenacity will triumph when it has swallowed these continents where the Aryan race lives. Then the humanity of light will inhabit an island in the South Pacific Ocean, and at last all of us, the bodhisattvas, will be totally absorbed within the innermost in order to enter into that ineffable bliss of nirvana. Our Gnostic ritual states. Toast. Yes. Toast to nut, voluptuousness. The sexual, loving voluptuousness has a mantric name, which is nut. Sexual voluptuousness is indescribable. It is the abraxas of us Gnostics. It is the fire of life. It is nut, the great power that awakens the Kundalini and turns us into gods. It is that solemn enjoyment of the sexual connection. The enjoyment of nut is the breath of God, and therefore can never be bad. The sexual enjoyment of nut is a legitimate enjoyment of human beings, but we must learn to toast to nut without hurting ourselves. Our motto is the luma. This Greek word is the mantric name of willpower. You go to women? Do not forget the whip, exclaims Friedrich Nietzsche. That whip is the whip of willpower. That is the whip that allows us to dominate the beast and enjoy nut without harming ourselves. Nut turns us into gods, therefore the master, raising the chalice, exclaims. All-powerful Sati. Cosmic Sati. Thou, whose sparkle enlightens the worlds, thou, who art the breath that makes everything tremble and shake, with the sign of the cross, makes the sign of the cross, I conjure thee, great being, so that thou mayest appear on thy throne of the solar globe. Open then the way, the door of creation, and trace a path of relation among us, and may thy light enlighten our understanding, and revive our heart. Let thy glow infiltrate and inflame our blood so that we may achieve our incarnation. Thus, this is how the master chants to nut, voluptuousness. The whole secret is in husband and wife connecting sexually and withdrawing from the sexual act without spilling the semen. This is the solemn secret of nut. This is how we invoke Isis in the flame of the serpent. Therefore Isis exclaims, Thou shalt be able to come to my bosom and rejoice, leaving a trail of extended incense. Thou shalt give everything, absolutely everything, for just one of my kisses. And the master answers Isis, Thou shalt also give everything for one of my kisses. And the guardian, symbol of the force of willpower, ends exclaiming, But, whosoever in the glory of this moment gives dust, all shall be denied unto him, all shall be lost for him. Therefore, we men need willpower in order to enjoy Isis without spilling the semen, that is all. Our motto is the luma, willpower. Let us invoke the fire. Let us worship the fire of nut, exclaiming, Abraxas, 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 and let us not forget that our redemption is in the fire of nut. And call the masters daily by chanting the following ritual mantras. Vocalize these mantras after practicing sexual magic in order to invoke the masters, asking them to help you to awaken the Kundalini. Thus the masters will come and help you. After a night of sailing, I returned from Barranquilla. In that city I gave some esoteric lectures to the spiritual brothers and sisters. Wretched beings. I really don't mind calling them spiritual parrots. These people know nothing. Deep down they are nothing but wretched theorists, full of theories and more theories, but they don't really know anything. They all feel like masters. They have disconcerting vanity and pride, and they spend hours talking like parrots, yes, parrots without realization. I know highly intellectual people there, who indeed deep down are true intellectual donkeys. They have never had even a glimpse of clairvoyance. Nonetheless they wait to disincarnate in order to see and feel the internal worlds, and yet they supposedly are great spiritual people, and they stroll in the conference rooms with a majestic air, pretending a brotherhood that they have never felt. Those are the spiritual brothers and sisters. I know simpler beings. I know true initiates who work directly under the guidance of the Sacred College of Initiates of the White Fraternity, within the supersensible worlds, and yet they are totally illiterate. I know true enlightened initiates who know how to enter the internal worlds whenever they want, and yet in the physical world they have never read a single book of spirituality. They have no theories in their heads, and they are millions of times more advanced than those famous caged parrots, the spiritual people. I am convinced that theories do nothing other than break a person's hidden powers. In practice, I have been able to verify it. I have been teaching the practice of astral projection to many people, and those who had not falsified their minds with so many theories could easily learn to enter and leave their physical body at will, but the spiritual parrots have been taught that astral projection is very difficult. Because they have falsified their minds with the foolishness of the intellect, they have broken their mental bodies and lost all their powers. I have seen that intellectualism vampirizes, sucks, and absorbs all the psychic forces of the being, and this is how I understand that the spiritual parrots do not have enough strength to consciously go out in their astral bodies. The state of these beings is really lamentable. I have been speaking to them, but they do not understand me. Their minds are so petrified in their brains that when a true adept speaks to them, they simply interpret everything as fantastic and illusory. Because the mind of an adept escapes that crude materialism to which they are so subjected, and since they cannot understand it, they resolve rather to criticize and ridicule. This is the state of comprehension of those wretched spiritual parrots. The spiritual schools are totally intellectual. Within these schools, the human mind resolves to divorce itself from the innermost in order to lock itself within theories. That is why I affirm, all spiritual schools in this century are black. Let us understand by black as everything divorced from the innermost. In the remote past, there were authentic mystery schools in the physical world, but today those schools of internal instruction must be sought within our inner universe. The current spiritual schools of the physical world are all, absolutely all, dens of black magic. Now in Barranquilla, Colombia, there is another school. Some smart Alex from Caracas, Venezuela, decided to found another school called the Order of Aquarius, and it seems that the business is working for them. They already have land, properties, etc., in some countries. They speak of a certain farrier whom they present as an avatar, and of course they are recruiting the unwary to make the cow fatter. Nevertheless, the parrots of spirituality cover their weaknesses with that parochial statement that they need these so-called schools to learn the basics. What fools! 20 centuries have passed since the Christ came to earth and they still have not learned the basics, the first letters. These fools are believing that they can mock the holy doctrine of the Nazarene with impunity. These fools believe that learning theories is how they will free themselves. These nonsensical ones do not want to realize that maxim of Christ that says thus: "But seek ye first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all these things shall be added unto you." Matthew 6 verse 33. Who among those nitwits has fulfilled the greatest commandment of the law of God? Thou shalt love the Lord thy God with all thy heart, and with all thy soul, and with all thy mind, and thy neighbor as thyself. Luke 10 verse 27. Who among those eunuchs of understanding is capable of kissing the executioner's whip? Who among them fulfills the sixth commandment of the law of God, which states, "Thou shalt not fornicate"? You fools, you nitwits! Who of you has reached perfect chastity? Do you believe that you can replace the law of God with theories and quotas from your dark schools? You cretins! Do you not know that you are the temple of the eternal living God, and that the Most High dwells in your heart? When are you being told that God is within your heart? When? You were taught the Our Father precisely so that you would learn to converse with your inner God, and yet you are looking for loopholes within schools. How foolish you are! Do you perhaps believe that you can know more than God? If you understood the magical power of the Our Father, if you understood what that great gift of God means, then you would say, "Give me to drink, Lord, give me a drink." And God would give you to drink from that fountain of eternal life, and he who drinks from that fountain will never be thirsty again. A well-prayed Our Father takes at least an hour. You have to close your eyes and separate your mind from external things. Fall asleep a little, and then focus your mind on the innermost, loving the innermost, adoring the innermost, and meditating deeply on each word of the Our Father in its conceptual content, as if conversing familiarly with the Father who is the innermost, the beloved who resides within, deep within, in the depths of our heart. This is how we can converse with the inner Master, and after a certain time we will hear his voice, and we will see his face, and he will teach us the profound divine wisdom. So what is the need for schools if the Master is within, and he calls us? Let us purify ourselves, my brothers and sisters, so that the Master can teach us. Do not go looking for loopholes. Practice the teachings of the Nazarene, and you will have solved all your problems. Chapter March 8, 1952. Today I was visited by a peasant from the Sierra Nevada de Santa Marta. I was talking with that humble man, and he made me immensely happy with his simplicity and understanding. That man knows our book entitled, The Revolution of Beelzebub, and he has understood it very well. He is a humble peasant, but he completely surpasses so many parrots, who read and do nothing. The Sierra Nevada de Santa Marta is a true bastion of Colombian spirituality. Today, a spiritual sister said something about the transmutation of lead into gold. In Barranquilla, there were some naive people who absolutely believed in a certain gentleman. Supposedly, he was an alchemist who knew how to make gold. The funny thing is that some fools totally believed everything he said, but they are waiting for the coveted metal. Alas! This is how humanity is. In the Sierra Nevada de Santa Marta, behind the Sierra of the Paramos, there are some native initiates who know how to make gold, but they have that secret very well kept in their Mayan mysteries, which the profane will never know. They make gold with a plant, they mix the leaves of the plant with saliva, and thus make pure gold, with which they make sacred images. In the Sierra Nevada there is a great white lodge of the Mayan Ray, to which the great indigenous masters belong. I was talking about all these things today with a spiritual sister, until the moment the humble peasant from the Sierra knocked on my door. Chapter